I am again thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Tonight, the terrifying moments on campus, gunshots ringing out at Florida State University. Authorities say an active shooter opened fire, multiple people dead. The 20-year-old suspect, a son of a sheriff's deputy, were on the scene. Also breaking tonight, a school bus returning from a field trip, flipping over with kids inside. Several people now in critical condition. We'll have the latest. Plus, the dangerous weather moving in. Millions at risk of flash flooding, tornadoes, and violent storms. We're tracking it all. The new federal charges against Luigi Mangione, accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO on a New York City street. President Trump lashing out against Fed Chair Jerome Powell, saying he can't be terminated fast enough. Powell says the president can't fire him, as he warns tariffs could hit the economy hard. A 10-year-old kidnapped and sexually assaulted by a man police say she met on the hit video game app Roblox. What parents should know. The new weight loss pill researchers say could work as well as Ozempic or Wegovy. What we're learning about how soon it could be approved. The big question, how much will it cost? And there's good news tonight. We'll introduce you to the cancer-fighting team on a record-breaking mission. This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. And good evening, I'm Tom Yamas, in for Lester. We start tonight on the campus of Florida State University, where horrific scenes of violence played out this afternoon. Students running for their lives as a gunman opened fire near the student union. 2 people are dead, 6 others injured. Authorities say the gunman is the 20-year-old son of a sheriff's deputy. They say he had access to one of her weapons, and it was found on the scene. President Trump today saying it's horrible that things like this take place as another American university mourns a horrible act of gun violence. Our Priya Sridhar is on FSU's campus tonight, and she starts us off.
Moments of horror, a shooter opening fire at Florida State University. The gunshots ringing out across the campus. Students seen fleeing, others urgently evacuating with their hands above their heads. Just before noon, a gunman started shooting near the school student union. 2 people are dead, according to authorities. 6 others are injured.
Needless to say, we have multiple crime scenes. This is a very large area we're covering. This is an active, ongoing investigation.
Authorities say suspect Phoenix Eichner is in the hospital. The 20-year-old is the son of a current sheriff's deputy, according to the Leon County Sheriff.
Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene.
As warnings of an active shooter went out across campus, some sprinted away. Others barricaded themselves inside campus buildings.
We blocked the doors with tables and stuff. I couldn't get through to 911.
Multiple law enforcement agencies rushing to the scene. This way, this way. Officers clearing buildings room by room using a code word, evacuating terrified students.
Mass hysteria went through the building.
President Trump this afternoon asked if he wants to see any changes to gun legislation following today's attack.
I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's, a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame.
Today's shooting wasn't the first.
Breaking news as we come on the air, the deadly mass shooting on an American college campus. At least 2 people killed, several others wounded. Late today, when President Trump hinted about trade talks with China and a U.S. citizen accused of hijacking a small plane. First, the deadly shooting at Florida State University. At least 2 people killed, 6 others wounded. Shots fired near the Student Union building. Students told to shelter in place, some using a piano to barricade a classroom door. Video shows the suspect in shackles placed into an ambulance. Authorities identifying him as a student and a son of a sheriff's deputy. But we're now learning about one of the guns found at the scene. Faith Abube reports from Florida. Also tonight, President Trump welcomes Italy's prime minister to the White House, the first European leader to visit since he imposed tariffs on the EU. and after imposing 145% tariffs on all Chinese products. Well, the president is now signaling about his trade war with China and President Xi. Rachel Scott is at the White House. Tonight, a Southwest Airlines flight from Houston to Mexico making an emergency landing, an engine catching fire in midair. Passengers evacuating onto a taxiway. A deadly hijacking in Central America. An American citizen seizing a small plane at knife point, demanding to be taken out of the country. A passenger on the plane taking him down. Tonight, the high-stakes resentencing hearing for Lyle and Eric Menendez. After more than 35 years behind bars for murdering their parents, the district attorney throws a last-minute wrinkle into their bid for freedom. What the judge has now decided. Here in New York, just moments ago, a federal grand jury indicting alleged CEO killer Luigi Mangione on a murder charge, making him eligible for the death penalty. The ABC News exclusive, George Stephanopoulos one-on-one with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro just days after the arson attack on his home with his family inside. The governor grateful tonight for the firefighters. A horrific cable car accident, at least 4 people killed when a cable reportedly snapped, their cabin plunging to the ground. More than a dozen other passengers rescued. Eli Lilly reveals a potential breakthrough with its daily weight loss pill, how it compares to popular drugs such as Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. And America Strong tonight, a moving story. What happened when a bookstore owner called on the community for help?
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News.
She's hosting the vice president in Rome tomorrow. Yeah, in just a few days, he's going to be hitting there and India as well. So, Jerry, with a shortened trading week, how much of a boost would it be for everybody, psychologically and otherwise, if the White House is now able to announce a trade deal or two?
I think that's the key. I think that's the key for your 401k, for your savings, for your retirement. All traders, professional investors are hanging on the words of these negotiations. This is critical to the future of stocks. And I think what you heard in this presser, gosh, I wish the markets were open today. All of this optimism coming from Trump about what's going on. He said he expects a deal with Europe. We're going to get that done. That's going to be easy. You know, what he has that no one else on the planet has is the American consumer. We spend so much money. So many people want to be in our marketplace, selling to our consumers. It's a real advantage that I think a lot of people don't understand, or maybe they just discount. So this was very good news. He also said, and this is important, that the country is taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. I was listening to that because there are real concerns about this monster debt that we've put together. So that's good news, what I heard in this press conference.
Well, and Doctor, this all impacts not only our physical, but our mental health as people are having a hard time. I say don't check the 401k. Don't do it right now. If you're skittish, you got to leave it alone for a while, if you can.
You know, and I agree with Jerry's point about the optimism here. Trump made some really key points here that he feels this country is taken advantage of by other countries. Now, look at Europe, where we average a 1% tariff across the board with no free trade agreement. Now it's 15%. But you know what Europe does to us? Europe, by the way, whiskey alone had a 25% tariff.
Don't mess with the whiskey.
Whiskey alone, don't mess with my whiskey, right? And here's the last point: the art of the deal. Right? He's with Maloney. He's with Prime Minister Maloney. The art of the deal. That's how he does it, person to person. I think he's going to negotiate something.
Or at least he loves to negotiate.
He loves to negotiate. Also, I think he also just likes the Italian Prime Minister Maloney. They share a similar worldview, anti-globalist, anti-illegal immigration as well. And to your point, this is the classic art of the deal, classic Donald Trump. He sort of picks this more extreme position to push the opposition into a position that he agrees with or that he finds more satisfying. Also, he thrives in the unpredictability and the chaos. He likes his opponent to not know exactly what he's doing. That's also why he's so good at foreign policy as well. And then I think when he recognized that there was a little bit too much volatility, he sort of took a beat, took a pause, and imagine what it would do if they can lay down, here are some of the deals that we've done that would give businesses a lot of confidence, investors a lot of confidence. So I think once we're on the other side of this, we'll be in a better position as a country.
Yeah, he may like the unpredictability. It works for him as a negotiator, but we know the markets do not love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-host Harry.
On this Thursday night, it's debate night again in Montreal. The jabs the federal party leaders took at each other.
Mr. Polyev wants to let big polluters pollute as much as they want. Mark Carney is asking for a 4th liberal term, repeating the exact same liberal promises. I'm a very different person from Justin Trudeau.
How they defended their policies, plus analysis on how each leader fared. Measles cases multiply in parts of Canada. What doctors say urgently needs to be done to reverse the troubling trend. Powerless in Puerto Rico again, the hundreds of thousands without electricity. And is there life beyond Earth?
We found the strongest evidence to date.
Why scientists are cautiously hopeful. Canada's federal party leaders trading barbs at the election campaign's only English debate. Much of it seeing Mark Carney trying to fend off attacks from all sides as his political rivals try to knock down the Liberals' momentum with just 11 days left in the campaign. Good evening and thanks for joining us. From affordability to national security, the leaders of Canada's major political parties debated once again over some of the biggest issues on voters' minds. More distinctly, they were more aggressive compared to last night's French debate, with a lot of that pressure put on the perceived frontrunner, Mark Carney. Mackenzie Gray begins our coverage tonight on what unfolded.
Mr. Carney, they're coming at you from both sides. What do you say?
Okay. Right off the bat, the Liberal leader was under attack. You are exactly in the same line as Justin Trudeau and the rest of the Liberal team that is now making up your cabinet.
Mr. Carney, you are becoming a real Canadian leader, saying one thing in French and another one in English.
Trying to make Mark Carney look like Trudeau 2.0, a criticism the Liberal leader brushed off.
I know it may be difficult, Mr. Polyev. You spent years running against Justin Trudeau on the carbon tax, and they're both gone. Okay, they're both gone.
You want to apply a massive industrial carbon tax. Carney barely looked at Pierre Poilievre during the debate and rarely took the bait from the Conservative leader's attacks.
But you know the answer?
In the carbon tax,
just throwing out
thousands of dollars.
Making it up.
Extra costs.
The
opposite approach taken by the NDP's Jagmeet Singh, who mostly attacked the Conservative leader, even sticking up for Carney, despite the fact the Liberals have taken many NDP voters.
Saying that, Mr. Carney.
While these two compete about who's more pro-pipeline, I think what we need to do is, it's clear, the Liberals bought a pipeline, they built a pipeline. I don't know what Pierre is complaining about. That's what they did.
Singh later pushed Carney on oil and gas subsidies.
I answered this question last night, but I think the puck had already dropped in the Canadians game, so not everyone heard it. Yes, and to oil and gas subsidies.
Poilievre defending his plan to use the notwithstanding clause to impose longer jail sentences and attacking Carney over crime, an issue the Conservatives believe is a winner. We can't risk a fourth Liberal term of soft-on-crime policies. We need a change. Carney keeping the focus on who's best to deal with U.S. President Donald Trump, the core theme of his campaign.
We are facing the biggest crisis of our lifetimes. Donald Trump is trying to fundamentally change the world economy, the trading system.
But Carney said there's an even bigger threat to Canada.
We didn't have a chance to talk about anything internationally. I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
Despite a more fiery debate in English compared to in French, there was no knockout moment. Likely a win for the frontrunner Mark Carney, who will start campaigning across the country like the rest of the leaders with advanced voting opening Friday morning.
All right, Mackenzie Gray in Montreal. Thanks, Mackenzie. Our Ottawa Bureau Chief, Mercedes Stevenson, is here with some post-debate analysis. So, Mercedes, let's talk about the frontrunners. How did they fare?
Well, I think that this was a fairly lively debate, and frankly, one of the better ones that I've seen in my time covering federal debates. You had actual exchange.
On the political spectrum, Australia Votes, your home of the election on ABC.
Seasoned police left shocked by the violent kidnapping and suspected murder of a Sydney mother. Cyclone Errol expected to weaken before crossing WA's Kimberley coast as a tropical low sometime this afternoon. Ukraine's president accuses China of supplying weapons to Russia, complicating peace talks underway in Paris. Peter Dutton's election office vandalised while the leaders wind back their campaigns for Easter with prayers and pause. And shoppers descend on Sydney's fish market for the Good Friday fish frenzy. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Joe O'Brien. Sydney police believe a body found in a burnt-out car is that of a woman abducted in front of her children in Sydney's southwest overnight. Reporter Courtney Barrett-Peters is in Beverly Hills, where the car was found.
Police believe the body they found inside a burnt-out car is that of a 45-year-old mother who was kidnapped in front of her two young children last night. Firefighters were called here to Welfare Street in Beverly Hills around 11:30, following reports a car was well alight. Crews worked to extinguish the blaze before finding the woman's body inside. An hour earlier, one of the woman's sons, a 15-year-old, told officers he saw his mother be forced into a nearby waiting SUV, and before that, his 8-year-old brother was assaulted by 5 balaclava-clad men, one carrying a firearm with a baseball bat. He has since been taken to hospital and remains in an induced coma in the intensive care unit after suffering severe head injuries. That 15-year-old boy was also treated by paramedics and taken to hospital for further treatment. Now, police...
Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on today's show. 2 hours of terror. We look at how an attack on aid workers in Gaza unfolded. And in sport, a truly remarkable late comeback since Manchester United through to the Europa League semi-finals. It's Good Friday, the 18th of April. A Sky News investigation reveals a comprehensive account of Israel's deadly attack on aid workers in Gaza. After the invitation for the date, President Trump hints at a September state visit while he showers praise on friend King Charles.
I was invited by the king and by the country, great country, they're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest. And that's what it is, it's a fest.
Godfather-style mafia gang war grips two Scottish cities with brutal attacks caught on camera, and communities they're fearing for their safety. And in sport, Tottenham battle through to the Europa League semi-finals as Ange Postecoglou says fans will have to put up with him for a little while longer. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on The Breakfast Show. 11 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 8:30 in New Delhi, 10 a.m. in Jakarta. I'm Yasmin Yonkers at this hour. Chinese President Xi Jinping wraps up his Southeast Asia tour in Cambodia, signing dozens of agreements on investments, trade, and cooperation in education. He urges Phnom Penh to resist protectionism and uphold the multilateral trading system. U.S. President Donald Trump says China has reached out, expressing optimism about a potential trade deal, but there's no sign from Beijing of the top-level talks Trump has mentioned. And Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim to meet the Myanmar opposition group following discussions with the junta chief on humanitarian aid and efforts to end the long-drawn conflict. And Chinese President Xi Jinping wraps up his visit to Cambodia today as he concludes his three-nation tour of Southeast Asia. And Cambodia is his last stop after Vietnam and Malaysia, as Beijing seeks closer ties with the region amid frayed relations with Washington. Mr. Xi arrived in Phnom Penh yesterday. He was welcomed at a ceremony by King Norodom Sihamoni, who held talks with him at the palace. Mr. Xi also met with the Prime Minister, Hun Manet, and Senate President Hun Sen. And he later signed a total of 37 agreements covering investments, trade, and cooperation in education. The Chinese leader hailed the friendship between Cambodia and China, saying they set a model for equality, mutual trust, and win-win cooperation between countries of different sizes. And this trip, which is his first to Cambodia in 9 years, also saw him double down on calls to oppose hegemony and power politics amid a bitter trade war with the US. And he warned that such disputes harm the multilateral trading system and impact the global economic order. Mr. Xi.
On France 24.
Thanks for joining us. See you again. Take care. Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Good morning, I'm Oliver Farry, and this is Daybreak. The long-anticipated minerals deal between the United States and Ukraine begins to take shape as the two countries sign a memorandum of intent. Kyiv hopes the deal, which is to be signed next week, will give the Trump administration a stake in ensuring Ukraine's defense. Pope Francis visits inmates at Rome's Regina Coeli prison on an annual Holy Week visit, keeping an appointment as he recovers from a near-fatal bout of pneumonia. The Pope's condition did, however, prevent him from symbolically washing the feet of prisoners in imitation of Christ at the Last Supper. A U.S. federal court rules that Google has an illegal monopoly on ad tech. In an antitrust suit brought by the Justice Department and a dozen U.S. states, the judge rules that the tech giant has abused its position and its search software to charge higher prices and take a bigger portion of each sale. It's the second antitrust suit Google has lost in the past year. And Easter eggs are under threat due to a surge in cocoa prices, but the industry is adapting. We'll be taking a look at one French factory that is experimenting with ways to make chocolate without using cocoa.
The news. On Thursday, mourners gathered in Nairobi to bid farewell to Nadia Nzaki Olubunmi, a Nigerian content moderator whose sudden and mysterious death last month has left many in shock. The 43-year-old was found dead in an apartment on the outskirts of Kenya's capital on March 7, 3 days after she failed to report to work. Her body was discovered in a state of decomposition, raising questions that remains unanswered. Olubunmi worked as a TikTok content moderator for Teleperformance, a multinational outsourcing company. In the days leading up to her death, she had reportedly mentioned feeling extreme exhaustion. The cause of her death has yet to be determined.
She had disappointment from the management of the someone who
The system is still not effective. Violations of international. The United Nations has raised alarm over the deepening humanitarian crisis in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, highlighting disturbing levels of violence, mass displacement, and a systematic use of sexual violence against children and women. UN Special Envoy emphasized that despite political and diplomatic efforts, the ceasefire is far from effective. Transmission. In a city known more for its classic cars than cutting-edge tech, a restaurant in Havana is turning heads and going viral, thanks to a high-tech new team member, a robot waiter. Donna Alicia, a restaurant located in the heart of the Cuban capital, has captured public attention with its futuristic service. The robot is going to come here and bring me the food I ordered. This is like the movies. The robot does everything. It brings me food. It says thank you. I reply, you're welcome. The novelty has helped the restaurant attract curious locals and international visitors alike.
Sometimes I'm so very tired. I cannot communicate and because I'm late and just a touch I can take it.
Despite frequent power outages and limited access to advanced technology, the eatery made a bold move to modernize, gradually integrating digital tools into its customer experience. It was an interesting idea to bring a robot to Cuba. It has allowed us to get to other type of customers and surprise them because it's something new. While robots wait staff face infrastructure hurdles.
The Liverpool defender Van Dijk finally signed his contract with the club on Thursday. His previous contract was set to expire by the end of the season, with the defender being the latest to sign his contract with the Reds, joining the likes of Mohamed Salah, who also recently inked a deal extending their agreement with the club.
Good morning, happy Easter to you. Foul play, farmers fear chlorinated chicken could come to the UK.
Concerns are growing. The government could lower British food standards, secure a trade deal with the US, and prevent another round of Trump tariffs.
Meanwhile, the Chancellor says she'll hold talks with the White House, as President Trump implies. His second UK state visit could come this year.
The country, great country too. They're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest, and that's what it is. It's a fest, and it's beautiful.
And Lloyds, Britain's biggest bank, pledges solidarity with the trans staff after what they describe as an unsettling day at the Supreme Court.
2 British tourists amongst the 4 killed in a cable car crash in Italy.
In the military, and they'll tell you, wherever they're posted, they never stop worrying about families back home who are often living in completely unsuitable accommodation.
GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White reveals the deteriorating state of military accommodation, with families forced to live in appalling conditions.
King Charles ignores anti-monarchist protesters at the Maundy Thursday service as the royals prepare for Easter Sunday.
Yeah, feuding brothers Prince William hires a palace aide that's at the centre of the Meghan bullying scandal. Will this add fuel to that fire?
Good Friday is upon us, of course, as we reflect on the death of Jesus Christ.
Dean, you're going to be my business partner. Thank you, Sugar.
You're hired. Lord Sugar selects Dean Franklin as his apprentice in this year's final.
And Love Island winner Jack Fincham will join us live later on in the show.
Good morning. It was an extraordinary night at Old Trafford as Manchester United pulled off an amazing late comeback to win a 9-goal thriller against Lyon and join Tottenham in the semi-finals of the Europa League after they edged past Eintracht Frankfurt in Germany. More later.
There's some very wet weather across western parts as we go through today. Otherwise, this long weekend will bring some decent dry and at times sunny spells. Good news if you're hoping for an Easter egg hunt. I'll have the details coming up.
Good morning to you. It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm John Newsom, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.